Milky Mist in Uyirtharam dairy products, healthy and tasty in every delicious bite.
Sathyabama University India இருக்கக்கூடிய top 50 universities ல ஒண்ணா இருக்கு. இதில் நீங்க சேரணும்னா description ல இருக்கக்கூடிய லிங்கை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க.
Batman was an iconic superhero, and you run around the house as a kid pretending to be Batman. You know, to wear the suit was absolutely incredible, and it was a bucket list that I ticked off.
How is it working with a director like Christopher Nolan?
The man is an absolute genius. Every movie he makes is absolutely mind-blowing. Luckily enough to play a special agent. And I'm chasing Joseph Gordon-Levitt around the stairwell and then through the doors and off the corridor, and he ends up behind me, and I'm kind of like, whoa, what is he doing behind me? And then he throws me down the stairs. Paradox. You know, Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise, they did all of that themselves. They're very, very talented actors. And I did a balcony jump on Quantum of Solace, my first ever stunt and introduction to the film industry. At 2 o'clock in the morning from one balcony to another. We were 3 stories up, no safety cables, no safety mats, you know, but I've done, you know, a lot of big iconic stunts that I'm very proud of and difficult.
Behindwoods, Maatheyosi with Agni. In this episode, we have the stunt double of Chris Hemsworth, who has worked in the recent film Extraction, Bobby Holland Hanton. Hi, Mr. Holland. It's a pleasure to have you here in this show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Talking about GOT, did you work on the Battle of Bastards?
Yes, I did work on that. Yes, I worked on the last 3 seasons. Sorry, the last 3 seasons before the last one I worked on. So yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorite TV shows, and it was an honor to work on it. And I worked with it on a lot of my good friends, and the stunt coordinator is a very good friend of mine, Rowley Earlham, who's won 4 Emmys now back to back, which is an amazing achievement. And
don't need to die.
Again, the Game of Thrones, you know, series is a great series, and it was great to work on. So all kinds of different stunts, fights, slashing, you know, battles, and yeah, it was great fun.
Okay, now I'll mention a few iconic stunt sequences that you were part of. You just have to say whatever pops up in your mind about the sequence. So let's start with the sequence from Inception. One of the most talked about, the most popular of stunt sequences, most innovative of the way it was shot, was the hallway scene from the movie Inception. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so that was one of my very first, I think it might have been my 4th film in the industry, and I luckily enough to play a small part as a special agent, and I'm chasing Joseph Gordon-Levitt around the stairwell and then through the doors and off the corridor, and I try and shoot at him when he's running down the stairs, and because it's the paradox sequence, he ends up behind me. And I'm kind of like, whoa, what is he doing behind me? And then he throws me down the stairs into the paradox. It was an amazing opportunity to play a small part in a Christopher Nolan movie with that amazing cast. And again, just being one of my first movies, I was very excited to be able to do that, complete it. And I'm very proud of being in one of the best movies ever made.
The Mombasa chase scene?
Yeah, so I chased Joseph Gordon-Levitt through the corridors and then through the doors and then down the stairs. So it was that was the end of the sequence. That's when I come into it. It was the end of the chase sequence. So the other stunt guys did the hallway that was rotating, which is a great, amazing idea that they came up with. You know, and it's great to be a part of something that, you know, a cinematic kind of history.
How is it working with a director like Christopher Nolan?
He's one of my favorite directors of all time. So to be able to be lucky enough to work with him on Inception and The Dark Knight Rises, I mean, what can I say? I mean, the man is an absolute genius, and every movie he makes, it's amazing. It's not just good. Every movie he makes is absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm such a big fan of his work.
How does it feel like to wear the Batman suit?
I mean, listen, it's every boy's dream, right? I mean, growing up as a kid, Batman was an iconic superhero, and you run around the house as a kid pretending to be Batman with your friends and family, and you know, to wear the suit was absolutely incredible, and it was a bucket list that I ticked off. And I think I've been so lucky to be able to tick off 4 major bucket lists. You know, Batman, Thor, Captain America, and James Bond are iconically, I'd say that up there in the top 5, and that's 4 of them of superheroes. I mean, obviously James Bond's not a superhero, but everyone wants to be James Bond. So yes, I feel very blessed and lucky that I've been able to play those parts as a stunt performer.
The Mission Impossible 6 Fallout, the sequence where Tom Cruise and the other guy jumps from the flight. Were you part of it? Can you tell us something about it?
Yep. So me and Tom Cruise, this stunt double, we worked out the sequences with the stunt coordinator and rehearsed things that, and the fight arranger, that they came up with those ideas. And, Henry Cavill and Tom Cruise, they did all of that themselves. We just rehearsed things, made it, tested them, tried different things out with the guidance from Wade Eastwood, the stunt coordinator stroke second unit director, who's a very good friend of mine that I've known for a very long time, and Wolfgang, the fight arranger. So we basically tested everything to make sure it was good for them to do it, and then they shot those sequences themselves. They're very, very talented actors and action actors.
And you know what, Bobby? I think you're the only superhero who has acted in both DC and Marvel.
Yes, I mean, again, I was wondering, I guess, early on if that would be an issue, and obviously it's not. Every job's different, and every production's different. Every stunt coordinator is different. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to, test out both waters and see, the difference. And, at the end of the day, they're all superhero movies, and they all do very well, and they're very well put together. And it's amazing to be able to work in both cinematic universes.
So, which is the most riskiest shot that you have ever shot?
I've been very fortunate to do a lot of difficult, dangerous, daring stunts in my career over the past 13 years. But sometimes the ones that you don't expect to be difficult are more difficult than they look or they feel. And that's due to sometimes costume, restriction in view, restriction in movement. I remember on Infinity and on End Game, I had to do a couple of running and big jumps, but then as I'm midair, that's when the shot will actually start, and I've got to kind of play dead or play like I'm knocked out. So to run, jump, and hit the ground when you're not trying to, or you can't save yourself or put your hands down, as you can imagine, to repeat that over and over again, it's not easy. And if you're hitting the ground pretty hard, it can hurt, So, but you've then got to, you can't hit the ground and go, oh, that hurt. You've got to stay like you're knocked out, and that's, you don't have any pads. You've got to do it to the ground, and those sometimes are quite difficult, But I've done, a lot of big, iconic stunts that I'm very proud of and difficult. But on The Dark Knight Rises, when Batman fights Bane and Bane puts him in the Indian prison, and he tries to climb out that, the well, and he jumps for that, the leap of faith, and he misses it the first 2 times. That was my first 100-foot high fall on camera, and I had a cable, so it was on a descender rig, but it was all free fall. It just stopped me at the end. So that was challenging and difficult. And I did a balcony jump on Quantum of Solace, my first ever stunt and introduction to the film industry, at 2:00 in the morning from one balcony to another. We were 3 stories up, no safety cables, no safety mats. So that had to be executed perfectly and know that I had rehearsed it and I was ready to do that. And control that adrenaline and control and make sure that I do it properly. Otherwise, that could have been very dangerous. I've done some really big wrecks as Thor, getting thrown about, the ratchet into the tree and then getting ratchet into the ground or dragged into the ground face first. That was full on. Game of Thrones, the TV show. I've done my first ever fire burn, full body fire burn. In a gladiator arena in Sevilla when it was the height of the summer, and we're then getting set alight, so you're even hotter. So listen, the list I can go on. Yeah. There's been a good few,
And sometimes things don't turn up as expected, and sometimes you get injuries and all. So which was the worst one according to you in your career?
I've had a few injuries along the way, but I think in a 13-year time frame, I've done okay, really. I mean, I've always had back issues from a very young age, from my gymnastic days, and that's kind of, it got worse as the time went on because I was still performing the highest level stunts, and my lower back was starting to deteriorate. So I've got now, I had a major operation at the beginning of 2019, and I have now 2 titanium discs at L4, L5, S1 level with 6 screws, 3 either side, and my back's has been a really huge obstacle for me to try and get over my whole career. So, that's been an issue. And, I snapped my groin off the bone on Ragnarok, on Thor in Australia in 2016. My adductor longus and rectus abdominis, that was a huge injury. It took me 3 months to come back from. And then I've picked up knee injuries. I've picked up shoulder injuries, neck injuries, head injuries, broken fingers, broken toes, but nothing in the grand scheme of things. It sounds like a lot. And, I guess it is. But I mean, as I said, I've been doing this for 13 years at the highest level. And, there is something's got to give. But as I said, in the grand scheme of things, I don't feel it's that many injuries. And, we work hard to prevent the danger level, with rehearsals and time spent and a great team experience and working, as a team with teamwork. So there's a lot of different elements that need to be, mastered before we, can perform a stunt to the highest level. And that's, hats off to the stunt teams. And we're real athletes and we're stunt artists. And it's a skill that we, obtain where, we have to have those skills to be able to do it at the highest level.
Have you seen this film called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Quentin Tarantino, DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and a good friend of mine, Zoe Bell, plays a part, and she was the stunt coordinator. So, yes, I love that film. It's a great piece of art from Quentin.
Yeah, how much were you able to relate to that film as a stunt double?
That's my stunt double, Cliff Booth.
There's elements of that relationship they have that I can absolutely relate to. That's the kind of, rapport I have with Chris, and it was quite interesting to watch that because I think those relationships are far and few between now, and I'm just very lucky and fortunate that I do have that kind of relationship, that that closeness, and as I touched on before, he's Chris, one of my closest friends, and you'd imagine that would be the case if we've worked together now non-stop for 9 years and spent a hell of a lot of time together, and there's a lot of trust and love there that we have between us. So I could certainly relate to their relationship in that movie.
You have talked about Chris Hemsworth, but how does it feel to be working with an actor par excellence like Christian Bale?
Listen, I'm a huge fan of Christian Bale. The man is probably one of the best actors of our generation, and his awards tell you that, and his performances tell you that. And I mean, he's a true gent. I mean, I went to his house in LA very early on before we started shooting on The Dark Knight Rises to teach him the fights, while Buster Reeves was teaching Tom Hardy the fights back in England. And straight from that moment that I met him at his house, his work ethic and his professionalism, and just to watch someone like that so closely was incredible, and an amazing experience that I will take away with me for the rest of my life. And he's just a great father and family man, and an honor to work with. And he's a genius at what he does. He's so clever, and to watch his process of how he does things was incredible.
And you also act as a stunt double for other actors as well, apart from Chris Hemsworth. So naturally, you would be required to match their body. Must have been a challenging process. How do you keep up with it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've been lucky enough to stunt double some amazing actors, and they've all got completely different physiques. And, it's about adapting to them and trying out different ways of putting on weight, losing weight, putting on muscle mass, losing muscle mass. But I generally try and stick to the same kind of routine that keeps me in the middle ground. And then if I need to put on weight within a space of a month or 5 weeks, I can do that. If I need to lose it in the same time frame, I can do that. And I think it's been a long time of me using the, testing, trying out new ways of training and looking after my body. So I think my body, the muscle memory kicks in quite well now. I think I'm in tune with my body, and I'm able to do that, which is a skill in itself, and it takes time. It's not something you can do overnight.
And it's just not about the body, is it? How do you mentally prepare yourself for such tasks?
You have to mentally prepare with, rehearsals, taking your time to actually break down the stunts, be patient, be calm, work with the team that you're with and put a lot of trust and faith in them about the safety aspect. And there's a lot of elements that go to it. It's not something I'll say you can't do overnight. It takes a lot of time, rehearsals and experience to be able to do that, and having an amazing team around you to achieve what you need to achieve. So it's a mental struggle. It's a mental battle. It's physically the same, but it's about trying to connect your body and your mind And again, having faith and belief in what your achievements are, having faith and believement in your capabilities through the training and hard work and the many years of doing that. So it's challenging, but it's certainly doable.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure talking to you. All the best.
Thank you. It was my pleasure, and thank you very much all the way from London.
Thank you.
Milky Misting உயிர்தர dairy products, healthy and tasty in every delicious bite.
சத்யபாமா யூனிவர்சிட்டி இந்தியாவில் இருக்கக்கூடிய டாப் 50 யூனிவர்சிட்டிஸ்ல ஒன்றா இருக்குது. இதில் நீங்கள் சேரணும்னா டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷனில் இருக்கக்கூடிய லிங்கை கிளிக் பண்ணுங்கள்.